Hi, everybody. Hold on just one second. I'm having our guest speaker. This is Coaching Conversations with Different Professionals. I'm Stephanie Epstein, founder of Your Highest Heels. Okay. So she is Marissa Cohen is going to be our guest. Let me get her to join. Here she comes. Hey,
Hey, I
how
put
are
my
you?
face on.
Right? I know. Well, you look great. And I'm so excited that we are having this conversation, coaching conversation on Instagram Live. So just introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Marissa F. Cohen. I am the founder of the Healing from Emotional Abuse philosophy, the 3 keys to overcoming narcissism, as well as the best-selling author of the Breaking Through the Silence series, an anthology book where survivors of sexual assault share their stories and their healing process. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And just to do a little introduction of myself, I'm currently on my personal page, but I am obviously Stephanie Epstein, and I'm the founder of Your Highest Heels. I'm a certified transformational life coach, and I help women transform their pain into freedom. I offer one-on-one coaching, online transformational courses, and a safe community for your voice to be heard. So go follow my page. It's Your Highest Heels, and you spell heels, Heals, which I'm sure you get. So Your Highest Heels, that's it. So go follow my page. Anyways, so we're doing a coaching conversation today, and I'm going to be doing this often with different professionals, and I've known Marissa for a pretty long time, and we've become very close, and I'm really excited that you're here, and we are going to be talking about relationships today. So you want to get us started with one of the topics that you want to talk about? Because I know you wrote a book just about all of this, so...
I do. I have a free book available on my Instagram, marissa.faye.cohen. If you go to the link in the bio, you can grab your free copy. It's called Signs of a Toxic Relationship, or I'm sorry, 3 Signs of a Toxic Relationship. And so what I think we can talk about today, because it's such like an overwhelming topic recently, is setting boundaries.
Yes.
A lot of people have a lot of difficulty setting boundaries and holding to those boundaries when people disrespect them. So I think let's focus on that a little bit.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit what you wrote about in your book about boundaries. Like what is the biggest takeaway?
Sure. So when you're setting a boundary with anyone, whether it be a friend, a family member, an intimate partner, you're stating a rule that you're not comfortable surpassing that particular boundary. And am I gone? Am I here?
Yeah, there you go. Okay,
cool.
Something happened to pause.
So setting a boundary, like I said, is setting a rule, and it's telling somebody that I'm not comfortable if you disrespect this rule. So for example, a boundary can be that you don't like when somebody texts other people all the time around you. It makes you uncomfortable, it makes you feel lonely. That's a boundary. It's something that makes you feel uncomfortable. And if the person continues to text other people all the time around you, when you've asked them and set the boundary that that's not something you're comfortable with, that's that's a direct violation of your personal boundaries. And that's something to definitely consider. And a lot of times with narcissists in friendships or romantic relationships, you see like a direct disrespect of boundaries happening constantly, but they minimize it and make it feel like it's a crazy rule that you're setting because you're nuts or you're crazy or you're overwhelming. But truly, it's something that affects you and impacts you, and they're gaslighting you and disrespecting your boundaries in order to make you feel inferior.
Wow, that was a great explanation. I love that. And I wanted to ask, so in terms of, you talked about setting the boundary, obviously. And so if you were to give like a situation, or maybe a situation that you've been in, what's a solution to setting that boundary? Like, how do you do that? And what do you say? And so go ahead and tell us just an example.
Sure. So one of the key foundational points of a healthy relationship is communication. If you don't have communication, you don't have anything. And boundary setting is just as easy as having a conversation like we're having. You can sit down your partner or your friend and say, hey, I'm really uncomfortable when insert boundary here. So let me think of an example for me. I'm really uncomfortable when people text me over and over again. You know, I don't care if it's like 3 small texts or whatever, but if somebody is texting me over and over and over again because I'm not getting back to them fast enough, that's a boundary for me. That's a huge no-no for me. It makes me uncomfortable, and truly it makes me not even want to answer you. So when I have a friend or a partner who is texting me over and over and over again because I'm not getting back to them at their speed, I have to sit them down and say, hey, listen, I'm a busy person. I have a lot of things going on in my life. I have people to take care of, and I really respect your friendship and I really admire having you in my circle, but we can't do this anymore, right? You can't me.
Right. And I love how you said that. Instead of cutting somebody out of your life, you're like, I'm going to set a boundary to preserve this relationship, right? Right. And I think in my coaching, that is so important to teach my clients and the people that I work with, because I just think that boundaries are preservation. And a lot of the times people think that boundaries are a way to hurt somebody else because people aren't used to it. This society is not used to setting boundaries, right? Like hearing a boundary. I mean, if I hear a boundary, it can be hard for me too. I'm human, right? So it's like getting comfortable with it. And that's what I'm hearing from you, which is so important. And I think that educating people on this, instead of just, you know, I guess like writing somebody off or just exiting a relationship, rather, how can I make this relationship work with boundaries? Because a lot of people just walk away. They're like, oh, I don't like this about this person. Oh, I'm just going to walk away. And then it negates all the wonderful qualities that somebody can have that you want to get to know better. And nobody's perfect, right? We just need to respect ourselves by setting that boundary. And that's what I'm hearing from you. And I think we can agree upon that, right?
100%. I think that there's 2 elements here, right? There's the self-respect element that you need to preserve and you know, do what's best for you, but also the respect of the other person. If it's a friendship that you value, you're not going to just cut them out. But in order to keep it a healthy relationship, there needs to be that aspect of a healthy communication, even talking about the uncomfortable stuff.
Right.
Because if you can't communicate, there's no foundation.
Exactly. And I've had people leave my life and not communicating with me what bothered them, right? And we just got a message. I think, is this one, I don't know whose follower this is, but Out of the Quicksand.
Hi,
Okay, so you know her. No is a complete sentence. Love that. It's amazing how many people want an explanation to your no. It is, right? And then she says, but it's a boundary. You owe nothing to the person other than no, unless, of course, you want to explain things. That is true. And I think no is a complete sentence. I totally agree with you. And I think that was very important for our audience to hear. Hi. And so I just wanted to say that, but there are also people who use boundaries as a self-serving technique.
Yes.
And we have to look at that too. There's so many facets to this, right? And there's no like right or wrong way. We're all navigating life. We're all evolving. We're all learning. We're all healing. We're all trying to figure this out, right? But at the same time, people can use it in a self-serving way, or use it as a way to avoid something that maybe wouldn't be best to avoid. Maybe it would be important to confront, but that's up to the person. Obviously, we have to take care of ourselves. What do you think about that?
I think what it comes down to is the value of the friendship, right? So if it's somebody that you want to keep in your life, that you value, whose opinion means something to you, then cutting them out of your life doesn't seem like the smartest method. But if there's somebody in your life that's toxic that you want out of your life, you don't, like Oshika said, you don't need to set a boundary. You don't need to explain yourself to them. You can cut them out. But it's a matter of what your preference is. And like you said, Steph, people are three-dimensional, right? We are not a one-dimensional person with one personality trait. We are well-rounded individuals with emotional well-beings and, you know, physical well-beings. And so taking all of that into account, you basically just need to weigh out the importance of the person. So
Absolutely.
for example, like if you crossed my boundary, Steph, we'd have a conversation.
Exactly.
Because I respect your friendship. But if it was somebody else who crossed my boundary, who I didn't have as much of a connection with, or didn't feel like they were a good match for me in my life, then I'd be more likely to say, listen, I didn't appreciate that, and I really don't think I can see past it. Therefore, I don't want to be your friend anymore. You know,
right. Exactly.
At least that communication is there.
And you get to make that decision. We each
Right.
get to make that decision for ourselves. Like, there are people who have left my life. Not everybody has to like me. That's
Exactly.
okay. Not everybody's going to like me. And I'm okay with that today. Because, you know, I have people that love me, and I love people in my life. And the nourishing relationships for the people that love me are the ones that are important to invest in and set those boundaries even, right?
Yeah.
So we get to choose who's in our lives and who's not. And you know, I mean, I wanted to pivot the conversation just a little bit from boundaries. I know we've talked a lot about boundaries, but you know, we had a lot of other topics we wanted to talk about today. So there was, and people can kind of tell us what they want to hear about. Oh, and my computer just shut down, so I don't have it literally just shut down. I don't know what happened, which I'm kind of nervous about because it made a really weird noise. But anyways, we can that's okay. So we could talk about jealousy. Does anybody want to, your computer restarted because of a problem. Okay. Anyway, or do you want to ask me any questions? I mean, this is an open conversation, and an open dialogue, you know, coaching, almost like coffee coaching conversations, right? Coffee talk.
Oh, there's a lot of C's. Coffee coaching conversation.
Yeah. And maybe we'll I mean, if you're up to it, maybe we'll make this a regular thing. We'll do different topics each week, and I'm open to that.
I would love that. We can do one topic a week and really dive into it.
Right.
Works for me.
I see something else that somebody said, and it said, and when others make that decision towards us, be okay with it. It makes room for those who will support you. I love that.
So I love Oshika very much. She's a dear friend of mine. I'll introduce you guys sometime. But her and I come from a very similar background where we both studied with Jack Canfield and have a lot of wisdom from him and his coaching. And so I like what she's saying, because one of the things that Jack really highlights is that when somebody leaves your life, it makes room for somebody better to come, right?
Exactly.
So if you, like, for example, I had a best friend from when we were, I don't know, probably like 13 or 14, and we had a falling out, and she cut me out of her life. And that's okay, because she needed that at that time. And leaving that open, you know, that opening in my life has invited new people into my life, like you and Oshika. And those are the people who, you guys are the people who fill me with happiness and joy and love and connection. And if I still was holding on to a relationship that might not have been so healthy, I wouldn't have made room for you guys in my life.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I had an experience with that. And, you know, it was really hard at first when people exit your life, but at the same time, the amount of people that I've allowed in, even though it was hurtful and there was a lot of grieving, I opened myself up. You know, I do a lot of healing work on trying to open myself up, even though I may have felt feelings of abandonment, because connection, especially right now, is the most important thing to me. It's the most important thing. It's what fills me with abundance, with love and fulfillment, and makes me feel whole. And so, yes, when people exit our lives, it allows us room and space for other people to come into our lives, and to allow that, and to really, I mean, even if it's slowly, just let people in a little bit at a time.
Absolutely. It gives you room for growth, right? You plant seeds and the roots spread. You don't stay in one spot forever. And so to look at life as that, it's, if you stay still, then that's your whole life. But if you allow yourself to branch out and connect to other people, you never know the incredible experiences you'll have.
Right, right. Absolutely. Well, I just love this topic. And are you open to going into another topic for
Sure,
the
we
day?
could do that. Yeah.
Okay. Not to be negative or anything like that, but it's important that this topic is talked about. It's bullying.
Okay.
Bullying, or, shaming. The bullying and the shaming. And I know you talk about that also in your book and with your clients. And tell me a little bit about your viewpoint on that.
So bullying as a topic has so many facets, right? So there's emotional bullying. I mean, there's cyberbullying, there's physical bullying. I can tell you, I can't count on two hands how many times I got shoved into a locker in high school. That's bullying too. I got thrown in trash cans. I was small.
Mm-hmm.
I was easy to pick on. But in a relationship, there's also types of bullying, right? There's manipulation, which is bullying, and gaslighting. Mm-hmm. Was there a topic, like a specific section of bullying you wanted to highlight?
Well, I know we had talked about, when we were just having a conversation one-on-one, we talked a little bit about bullying through your actions rather than your words.
Okay.
So it could be like, an action of like, trying to think of an example, indirect bullying. Does that make sense? Where it's almost like it's a passive aggressive bullying, right?
Yes, absolutely. And this can be, I mean, from anybody. I have a family member who will remain nameless. Got there. Who is in fact a bully. This person is intimidated by any woman specifically who has values or strong-willed personality. Because this particular person likes to be the alpha, if you will, right? So friends can do that too. And I think the example we brought up was from Mean Girls with Regina George, how she would, find people wearing things she didn't like, and be like, oh my God, I love your skirt. Where'd you get it? That's meant to embarrass the person. That's meant to make them feel good, but it's superficial. Right? It's kind of meant to like demean them in a way.
Right.
Like, set them up to tear them down.
Right. Almost like a compliment, and like you're really saying F you.
Right. Exactly. like you were saying before, there's the whole Southern hospitality thing. One of the things that they say as like an F you is, oh, bless your heart. And it's really like, oh, you're an idiot.
Oh my gosh. I love that you just used that example. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that people can say, right? And I mean, it's just, and we'll interpret it as, people can be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like very petty. Yes, absolutely. But say all these things and be so like overly, almost like, I don't want to say overly loving, but it's sounding loving. It's sounding, what's the word do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Like, oh my God, you're amazing, and this and that. And really, this kind of brings us into the topic of jealousy. When people are saying all these things, but they really underneath it all are jealous. And I think it's a human emotion, jealousy, and we can all have it. We're totally human, but I think that people can hide behind, it's almost hiding behind a mask, right?
Yeah.
Hiding behind a mask of being overly nice and complimenting people. But like you said, really kind of being like, F you, right?
Right. I think there's a lot of that, especially in our society. I don't know why it is, but I feel like specifically women are pinned against each other in a really, really unhealthy way, and very unfortunate, because I think that humans have so much to offer and women have so much to offer, and we are pinned against each other. So you find a lot of that cattiness, that pettiness, that like false kindnesses in order to manipulate and gain from something. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's basically acting with an agenda, which is the definition of manipulation.
I mean, sometimes people would call that being fake, right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is,
Exactly.
But now how do we go about recognizing it in the moment and being able to say, okay, so this person might not be trustworthy because it
Right.
seems like they have an agenda.
And so
think
it's looking within ourselves on our end when we're on the receiving end of those compliments, right?
mm-hmm.
And the so-called fakeness, and recognizing, oh, this doesn't feel right to me. This doesn't feel right.
And I think we all have that, you know, angel devil, like instinct feeling in the pit of our stomach when someone says something that's not quite so genuine.
Right.
I call those yellow flags, right? So when somebody says something or, you know, pushes past a boundary or is jealous and like makes little like jabby comments,
right.
Those are yellow flags. They're right in front of your face, but we let them slide. And I think we feel that in our bodies, right? It makes us
absolutely
feel kind of tense. And
yeah.
So listening to that when it happens and saying, okay, so maybe this isn't right. It made me feel a little uncomfortable. Keep this person at an arm's length.
Right. Right. You have to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to protect yourself. And I think a lot of these behaviors, and I talk about with my clients, is stems from trauma, from growing up with trauma and dysfunction in a household, or just, you know, in your life, in a relationship, being abused, whatever it may be. Nothing's too small, you know, nothing too small. It really does affect the way that we interact in our relationships, right? Absolutely. And we can, you know, unpeel the layers of those things that were learned at such a young age, or even older, you know, whatever our trauma is, and undo them and find new ways to be in relationships. And that's where the healing work comes in. And that's why I believe we both became coaches, right? Like, to help people heal, because we're healing. Or I'll speak for I know you're healing, and you do all this wonderful work on yourself and with other people, and have built just an amazing coaching business, and, you know, you're a best-selling author. So there's so much to be proud of. And, you know, we've learned from experiences that we've been through. So it's like, just reminding our audience right now, like, you're not alone. Like, you don't have to do this alone. Like, reach out to one of us. Reach out to one of us. Let us know what's going on. Are you in pain? Are you suffering? Do you feel like you're silently suffering? Do you feel alone? Do you feel isolated? Do you feel like something's lacking in your life? You don't have to do this alone anymore. You don't. You have people. People care about you. And no matter what you've done or didn't do, people care. I care.
I care.
Yeah.
And, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, trauma doesn't happen to you alone, right? So when it comes to domestic violence, sexual assault, emotional abuse, what I specifically focus on, somebody else is doing that to you, right? You're not alone getting yourself to where you are right now. So why try and do that alone to dig yourself out? I mean, somebody helped you get there. Let somebody help you get out.
I love that.
I think it's so important. You know, we all need our hands held sometimes. I certainly didn't get to where I am alone. I had hundreds of people throughout my life pulling me back up when I fell, and, you know, dusting me off when I was like in the quicksand. You know, it's just so, it's so lonely trying to do this alone, to navigate it alone. And it doesn't make any sense. You need people who have been there and who can help you dig yourself out, because we've dug ourselves out. We know what works and what doesn't work.
Absolutely. It's so important to have a community of people and professionals to help you through this. Because, again, like you said, you're not alone. You don't have to do this alone. We can't do it alone, right? Like, it's so, so important that we find people in our lives that support us, our support system, right?
Yeah.
And I do the healing work. I see therapists, you know, I go to 12-step programs. I do a lot, and I have a coach, because it's so important. And, you know, that has helped me heal. And also just looking inside myself. That's the most important thing, is looking within, you know, and asking myself, like, what is it that I want in my life? You know, that's important too. It's like uncovering what is it that's blocking me, discovering what it is that I want in life. And I truly believe that my values are to, you know, be connected, to have good relationships, and to feel connected to myself, and mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all four aspects, right? And with my clients, that's what I help them with, because I was helped with that, and I understand it. I see you, I hear you, I feel you. Like, I get it. I get it. I know what it means to be unaligned. And I think that our relationships, like what we're talking about today in our conversations, coaching conversation, is that relationships, right? Like I said, for me, like my relationships are the most important thing. And that's why it's important to learn about these techniques and get educated on, okay, how do I set these boundaries? How do I protect myself? How do I do these? How do I navigate this? You know?
Right. And the important thing is having people around, a community and a support network that can help you through those, because those are all huge milestones. They're huge steps in your life. Absolutely. Being able to say no after trauma it's a feat, right? It's something you're terrified of. And even finding yourself after trauma changes you. It changes your DNA, it changes your biology, it changes everything about you. It changes your brain and the way your brain shoots synapses and what neurotransmitters are being released. I mean, it really changes you. Mm-hmm. And knowing in your heart that you're not alone and connecting to your community is, I can't, it's so important.
Absolutely.
It's a game changer.
Game changer. I love that. Yes. It's a life changer, right?
Yes.
I love that. And I think, you know, we offer help in those areas because we've experienced it, right? And we want to help other people. So, you know, you're not alone. If anybody needs anything, reach out to us. Send us a message, you know, go follow my business page at Your Highest Heals, which is Your Highest, and then Heals, HEALS, because it's all about healing. And Marissa will just kind of give an overview of how to get a hold of her as well.
Sure. So if you want to contact me and work on your healing journey, you can go to my website at marissafaycohen.com. That's MarissafayECohen.com. Or my Instagram profile is marissa.fay.cohen. And in my bio is a link. You can get my free book, 3 Signs of a Toxic Relationship. And I hope to talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll continue to do some coaching coffee conversations. And then, yeah, you can also direct message me on my personal page always. You're always welcome to. And then also, you know, Marissa and I will be doing some collaborations. So we'll announce those exciting things. They're coming down the line, which we're really excited about. So stay tuned. And we are so grateful you came on to listen today. Anything else you want to add, Marissa?
No, I think you have it covered.
Okay. Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, have a great day. Set your boundaries. Saying no is okay. And just keep going on your healing journey. And remember, most importantly, you're not alone. Thanks, everybody.